Well, I've got something for you, but this thing
Ooh,
is gonna be a bit different. All
mm-hmm.
right. So everybody is waiting on Frostpunk 2, but nobody has. Well, I would say nobody. I would say the developers have not released any information related to what the game is gonna be about. What are the
They're
different?
notoriously
They're
tight-lipped.
always
Uh,
tight-lipped. But here's something. Here is something that we can look at. I do not work with 11 Studios and I have no contacts with them. But here's what I know. In every single scenario that they have made, all the different stories they have told in Frostpunk 1, there have been unique mechanics in each of these stories. What I mean is that there are special events or there are special elements in the Book of Laws that apply to certain scenarios but are not applied in the sandbox. And I'm looking at it and I'm saying that these different events are going to become integral in the new game. So we have this thing about the labor laws for the workers. That's going to be something that they could put into Frostpunk 2. We have the thing where you have civil unrest and you have to get people to work together within a specific period of time, or you could have the city falling apart or people leaving. That's something that's going to play a big role in the new one. Technology.
Basically, build enough bread and circuses to entertain the masses, as
Exactly.
the saying goes, to keep the peace.
Bread and games.
Have union boards and stuff like that, and
Exactly.
basically do things they would like. Like for me, I always had the cemeteries.
Exactly.
Area cemeteries always improved hope and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So the way that I actually see it is that these elements that they have created, they're going to expand upon. I'm gonna give somebody some credit. Let me find his name. His name
If you hear
is.
Murray, my cat Murray's with me. He decided to hop on my lap.
I did hear it. Potato Eater made mention. It was, when was it? It was sometime last week. He was talking about civil unrest and wars between the different um smaller cities or factions within the Frostland located in the area of New London. And I'm saying that these small elements in terms of raids, battle between civilizations, are actually stuff that the developers put in, but they were minor features that didn't really play an integral role. We would see them in the fact that the
Oh,
lords.
right, in the
Mm-hmm,
lore with the Lord,
mm-hmm,
the Lord one, that
right.
Lord Carver.
Yeah, when they set up camps outside the city, and they would raid and take resources, and then after a while they would be brought in. So I'm seeing that the Frostland might have raiders. The mere fact that people in the Frostland would use um wireless communication system,
Communication.
right, through the what's the name of that device? Uh, the telegraph, right? The telegraph. The mere fact that there are stations throughout the Frostland says that they were able to send radio waves um, at very far distances. And I'm also looking at it saying that if,
There's one problem with the telegraph. It was a wired system.
well, I did read somewhere where it was also wireless in a sense. I'm not sure
That
where,
was later in history. That was like
right?
during World War II.
But in the sense of,
World War One, it was still developing.
I'm not
And
sure.
around the time.
Let me check that. Wireless. I'm
The concept did exist in around the time, but it, they still hadn't cracked the code yet to how to
what
do
is it?
it.
What telegraph? Right. Let me check that. Let me just check. Right. So wireless telegraph or radio telegraphy is a transmission of telegraph signals at radio waves. Okay, let's see when it was invented. It was okay before about 1910. But if we go back to how the Frostpunk universe works, the steam cores would have accelerated the development of the radio um, the radio wave telegraph system. All right, I'm gonna send you something. Well,
You are correct. They could have accelerated it, but it also could accelerate artificial intelligence because of the automatons.
yeah, because the automatons are able to function by themselves. So I am looking at it and saying no, that they actually did. Um, they actually did
But
have it at the time.
this, but I'm theorizing this was all still in the experimental phases,
They
and
yeah.
theoretically, they could have just been throwing advanced technology at the
All right.
at these
So
generators in hopes they survive.
agreed. Well, I just sent you something. I just sent you something, and I want you to look at the live stream itself and look at it and compare it, and then you tell me your interpretation of what it is.
This is an old. This is a telegraph with a phone on like they you. Have you ever heard of Morse code?
I've heard of Morse code. I've heard of it.
That was very common back in like the time around Frostpunk, but with accelerated development, they could have cracked the phone of how to transfer for a voice across across the
So
thing.
so based on that image that I've just sent you, take a look at what is on screen currently, and tell me if you see some
The signal core of the U.S. Army is at the bottom right.
you see it.
Uh,
So look at the live stream. I don't know if you can see the live stream. I'm gonna share it with you so you can see it, and we
I
can
see the image. I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking through it very carefully.
and you see the comparison between what's currently on screen and what I'm showing you. And I'm saying that the device, the technology that the individual is using is it's not the same in sense of how it is constructed, but it
True,
looks
I'm thinking historically. So basically, they've had a technological development, but they would have employed this on math already, or ready. So it
so.
probably was familiar technology.
I think it was. And I'm also looking at the fact that when you're playing the last autumn, in the last autumn, somehow they're able to receive information from extremely far distances and relay information back to wherever the supply depot is. So at any given point in time, they're able to send messages across extremely far distances, and somehow those messages reach the intended location, and this
It could
fact,
either be through the voice or through Morse code.
and I'm
Morse
thinking
code was the original language for like beep 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 beep
and I'm thinking it's
beep
some
beep beep
kind
beep
of
beep.
right. I think it's some kind of radio wave, some kind of radio wave system that they actually developed, or a mixture. And in the development of that, they were able to use that system as a means to, as I would like to say, create something a bit new and allow them to send messages in ways that messages would not have been able to be sent in our time. Fun fact, the Statue of Liberty was, I think, under construction or maybe being completed around this time. I'm not sure
Um,
exactly when, but let me see.
I'll look up the Statue of Liberty.
It's around this time.
It was roughly around the time. Statue of Liberties,
Mhm.
Liberties.
So the Statue of
Uh,
Liberty, it was
completion completion dates. It was October the 29th, 1864,
1864. Okay, so
or
here's
1866.
so it says
1886. Sorry,
1886. And when does Frostpunk take place?
1990. So we're seeing a frozen Statue of Liberty.
When was Frostpunk completed? When does Frostpunk take place?
I
18
think
No,
1910.
no. Frostpunk takes place in 1886.
So the same year this bloody thing was completed, and then the world froze over. Uh, I guess it gives a new meaning of liberty.
So, so the game starts in 1886, and if the game starts in 1886, then that
I'm
that
assuming when winter hits, so it'd be after the date of October. So that statue's either near complete or is complete.
it was completed. It was completed in 1886, and the game takes place
October.
yeah, October 1886. The Great Storm takes place in so at the end of at the an end to the old world, Great Frost arrived, it forced and consumed the northern hemisphere. Civilization collapsed. It's not known exactly what happened, but the results speak of themselves. Just the Great Frost begun to approach Britain. The British government, financially exhausted, teetering on the brink of bankruptcy, ordered the completion of complete evacuation of British Isles, both ships, landing dreadnoughts, and any other available forms of transportation were mobilized. So the game really starts to pick up between the year 1886 and 1887. Statue of Liberty would have probably been completed a little bit after the Great Freeze would have taken place, October 28th, which means that, in essence, looking back at it, what that means is that the Statue of
If the
Liberty,
U.S. government was planning, they could have diverted resources to away from the statue because it was a major project at the time.
it was.
Time so and copper and the metal structure that was used to create it and the stonework could have been put towards a generator instead. Or the US government could have been hiding the fact and their rich, powerful, intelligent people to safety, like Tesla. I believe he was in America, Tesla. Or am I wrong about that?
He was, but the thing is that we also have to look at the fact that the Imperial Exploration Company might have not necessarily have been a company in isolation. It's likely that this
But
entity.
we have a history of Americans.
Mhm.
Remember the armed gunmen where they said they dealt with Tesla, the mad engineer, if
Mhm.
you like recruited them?
Yeah, and I'm thinking looking at it, I'm also thinking that that individual was also Tesla played a critical role in the development of the generators and other things, because if you really look,
He made an electric city, but he grew too obsessed with automation to the point where he threw out everybody else, and everyone eventually
well,
turned on him.
more likely that his invention, because of the way that he constructed it, it fried the city. And I was saying a couple years back, because we've been having this conversation for at least 2 years, probably. I was saying that
Off and on, really.
off and on. I was saying that the walls surrounding the city should have been electrified. If they had used that, if they had been able to create a wall above the crater around the city and electrify it, they would have been able to extend the building area of the city a bit further. So they could use.
No, like electricity is extremely unpredictable. It like rains thunder like it did in the original city
Well, it would have
because of all
rained
the metal.
thunder, but the thing is, if it was placed in a circle around the city in terms of a wall that can be turned on and off, then the effects of it frying the people on the inside would not happen, because it would be on the outskirts. Because the lore also says that the energy shield or the electricity field that Tesla had generated around his city was able to stop the impacts of the storm or the frost in some way. So I mean, inevitably,
Yes.
if done right, it can actually be used as a kind of resource. And if the generator is able to run at 100% capacity, then it, by all means, it's possible
They could
for.
expand the steam pipes in order to allow for farther energy. They could even make mini generators in areas to
it would
improve heat.
it would make it would make things a lot more possible. It would create opportunity where opportunity did not exist, and that
Yeah, they'll melt, but it would also there's also a secondary risk: flooding. When you melt that much ice, it has to go somewhere.
well, it does have to go
What's up,
somewhere.
guys? This is
But
just
I mean, if done right, it can actually really change things around and make them better. Give me 1 second.